Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome
Hey,
back to
how's it going?
the podcast, episode 117. How's it been this week, Mark?
It's been pretty good. I
Yeah,
mean, cold and windy, but other than that, pretty good.
it's been a cold one here. Yeah, it got down to -2, and the weather said it felt like -15. So,
Yeah,
and
that's
it
for
did.
another
It
day.
felt that way though. Let me tell you.
I mean, I saw some crazy stuff down. What's it down? Louisiana, Georgia, Florida, Alabama,
Yeah.
Southern Texas was getting some good snow.
Yep.
Talk about a rarity.
No
I know
doubt.
some people
Did
that were,
Florida get snow?
I think, on the Panhandle. I know some people that were down in on the East Coast near Savannah that got some snow. Pretty much, gave them the rest of the week off, more or less. Because it's like they don't have any plows or anything. They just
Yeah.
have to wait for it to melt on its own. And when you get several inches of snow, even at good temperatures like 40s,
Mhm.
50s, it's still going to take like a day or two to melt.
Yeah, it looked like the one video that I saw, looked like it got quite a bit too.
Yeah, in some areas they got like what 4, 5, 6 inches,
Yeah, that's crazy. They're
which
not
is a lot
prepared
of
for
snow
that.
even in Ohio. Talk about down there where they hardly ever get it.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, we had quite a bit happen this week. I guess the big thing, obviously, was the Xbox Developer Direct, which was just yesterday. So that was one of the big things for the week. We got some other stuff too. We got some Warner Brothers games news that may or may not be good, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
The new AVGN game got announced. Some discussion on the Nintendo Switch 2 affecting Steam Deck sales. I've seen this kind of universally advertised across a bunch of different websites. So that's interesting to dive into. Some Pokemon TCG stuff. I just threw this in there because Mark likes Pokemon TCG quite a bit. And I was like, yeah,
Oh
this is
yeah,
interesting
yeah.
to talk about.
That's
Because
like
I
I
was,
do my daily hour or so, or whatever you have to do with the open packs.
yeah, for sure. I actually just saw some stuff for TCG Pocket today too that I tagged you in earlier. That looked really cool.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
Yeah, it looks really cool. But yeah, we got some other stuff. Obviously, we Nintendo Switch Online games added, which thank you for adding that in there because I forgot about that. It happened late last night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, we got some pretty cool stuff to dive into. So we'll go ahead and get started. But yeah, I guess first we'll go and wrap back around to the Warner Brothers Games stuff here. The president, David Haddad, is stepping down after 12 years. So obviously we got like Suicide Squad killed Justice League, which they lost $200 million from. And then the multiverses stuff, which is I don't think it's really caught on, right?
I don't think it
I don't know
has.
anybody that plays it.
Yeah, I don't see a whole lot about it.
I mean, we played it when it first came to beta or something, right?
Yeah.
We checked it out. It was definitely interesting. But yeah, it definitely hasn't led anywhere for sure. So yeah, I mean, this is before I get into like his statement, I will say I think it's probably good news. This is probably what we need. Let's be honest, Warner Brother Games sucks. That whole studio
They've always
sucks.
sucked.
They suck.
I don't know a single good game that they've ever made. That's the problem.
I mean, they do Mortal Kombat, you know,
Do
but
they make that, or do they have somebody else, another studio, make it
it's
that's
Warner
not like a
Brothers.
first party?
I don't
Does Warner Brothers themselves make the game?
think so. Could be wrong. Look it up. Mortal Kombat.
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, no, it's Nether Realms or whatever. Yeah. Okay, so Nether Realms owned by Warner Brothers Games. Yeah. So I mean, their studio makes it.
A studio they probably bought. Let's be real.
Think so. Yeah, they bought it from Midway back in the day.
Oh yeah, because Midway went bankrupt in 2009. So it's not them. It's just a studio that they own, that they bought. Not like
they acquired.
It is and isn't, but yeah, it's like a studio they acquired after the fact.
Yeah, I mean, be honest with you, like I just think it kind of blow.
Fair enough.
He says, I'm so proud of everything we've accomplished together at Warner Brothers Games during my time with the company. It had been an absolute pleasure working on and building our iconic gaming franchises, and we'll continue to be an enthusiastic supporter of this talented team's future endeavors. I look forward to working on the next chapter of my career and will always be grateful for my time with Warner Brothers Games. And that was a statement there. I chose to leave during a quieter release period to ensure a smooth transition and minimal disruption to ongoing projects. Yeah, I don't know. I think he kind of blew it and he left. Just like
pretty much.
You know? I don't know.
Yeah, you mentioned that and it reminded me of something else.
What's that?
About leaving the studio. I need to pull up just to make sure. About I believe it was one of the directors. I need to pull up real quick. I forgot to pull it up beforehand.
Oh, you're good.
Okay, so it was Corny Bush, game director of Veilguard, essentially just bailed on BioWare after that game bombed.
Too, right?
Yeah, it happened earlier this week, or maybe it was either this week or last week. I know it happened within the last week. I don't know if it happened last week. We didn't get the chance to talk about it, but it's one of those things you could say whatever you want. This was straight, I'm bailing because y'all are about to lose your jobs. I hear a lot of people talk about how it's one of those studios up in, I thought it was Canada, for BioWare. You're like, yeah, 100% that it's the Edmonton office. 100%. It's already rumored to be shuttered, but it wouldn't surprise me with how badly that game bombed. Because what did they recently came out and said it hit about 50% of their expected sales, which means they more than likely lost money on that game.
For sure. I mean, if Warner Brothers Games lost $200 million on Suicide Squad, I don't think Dragon Age did probably that much better, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about like making money. It had to have, I mean, they probably didn't break even, I'm sure. They had to have lost money. It hit 50% of their sales. They're kind of banking on
sales. Because what they were saying about 6 to 7 is what they were expecting. So
were they expecting from the last Dragon Age that came out 10 years ago?
Probably. Realistically, that's probably what they were expecting.
Different studio now. You got different people here. Wait, don't bank on the name. It's like Assassin's Creed, right? Like, I do honestly think that Shadows is going to do fine, despite all the issues and hiccups along the way. I think it'll be fine. Though I don't think it's going to be anywhere near what it could have been because they kind of dropped the ball.
Yeah.
So, deal.
So just to verify, the Inquisition sold over 12 million, and it's I don't know if we got a hard number. I was trying to verify. We know it probably sold at least 2 million copies, which is more than likely them losing a significant portion. They guarantee they spent over $100 million on this game.
I believe that. Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah, it's just game. All of a sudden that you get more news that comes out, and they're like, well, I wouldn't be surprised if they're shuttering more studios in the coming months, especially because what isn't EA's big investor meeting here pretty soon?
Yeah,
next few weeks.
Yep. Yeah, I'm interested to see what happens. I guess who takes over.
Yeah, or maybe that's why they came out. It's one of those things like once they have an investor meeting, they have to come out and be like, this is what this game did. And on top of it, they have to be like, these are the steps that we're trying to make because, well, we can't afford you to leave and us lose money.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens. I mean, I guess what we are told happens at the investors meeting. Yeah, I mean, look, it's the same deal. The Suicide Squad failed. Probably tried to stay on. They didn't want them there. So, smooth transition. Transitioning out of this stuff.
Yeah, because what was it a few days ago? There was Ubisoft stock was another one of those things where just it tanked pretty bad, but it's still like on the way down because Ubisoft's another company that's in a really precarious situation as far as if their next game, the Dragon Age game in March, does not do well. It doesn't bode well for the company or a lot of their studios.
Assassin's Creed, you mean?
Yeah, sorry, I said the wrong thing. We were talking Dragon Age. So don't mind.
Yeah, Inade says they were expecting 3 million for Dragon Age and sold 1.5 million. Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, the one platform that we obviously can see, which is Steam, sales aren't good. And it very quickly just flatlined to a non-existent player base.
I mean, this is a crazy thing. I knew it was going to drop quick, but I think I sent it to you too. But I saw Dragon Age. The game had been out for like 4 weeks and it was like $15 on GameFly or something.
Yeah, that's
on
not
like
good when a games go on sale eventually, but not
not that
in
quick.
the first 6 months to, like, a year usually, where that's where the bulk of their sales are gonna
Yeah.
come from.
Unless it's like a sports title or something where it does start to
Just 'cause
drop
they
off,
always
but
do well.
yeah, it's one of those things that I don't know. It's they made a lot of missteps along the way. It's only their fault. They only have themselves to blame. I mean, it's the same. Like I can't, you know, it's the same way with Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows. Look, it got delayed again. There's been all these hiccups along the way. All this political stuff, making comments about this and that. Oh, is the main character a samurai or is he not? Was he actually, historically a samurai or whatever? I don't know the whole. I was listening to a thing about it today.
It's just one of those things where it's like, did you regardless of
Did you do your research? Or did you just Google?
regardless of whether it's
Japanese?
historically accurate or not, it's just with how everything is and the culture war and stuff like that, you had to have known this was a bad decision
Yeah,
out the gate. Like, I don't want to, because I've heard some people talk about it. It's like they found like the one black guy in Japanese history, and like, oh, let's just make a story around him.
I mean, basically, it feels like
Not thinking like all the
DI
discourse around
for it
gaming, thinking
type
maybe
deal.
this is like a target that people will use to attack us, whether credible or not. Like that's a thing that exists in the gaming community right now. So like, why even open yourself up to be
Yeah,
attacked in such a way?
it makes you wonder about some of these companies or platforms or stuff that are still doing that stuff, especially in the climate now where it's like you instantly alienate at least 50% of your audience.
Well,
And
because
I was
we've talked.
watching Xbox Developer Direct Live, and it was just like this one game comes up, right? And it's
Yeah.
centered around a black girl. So just DEI, F this. I'm not playing this.
Even if it's not in there, you talk to some
horrible.
people. Everyone is so trained to look
Yeah.
for it. You see something, you just expect it to be there. That's what it's going to be around, and it's almost like you've set yourself up for failure just based off of trends.
Yeah.
What people in your studio come out and say on social media, the stuff that you put out there. You've just opened yourself up to just the assumption of DEI is there. It's going to immediately alienate a significant percentage.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the climate of the past 4 years, all the stuff that's happened. Like, you have to know what you're doing. You got to. They're self-aware. They're not stupid, right? So
I guess the question is, how much money do you have to lose before you actually realize maybe we need to go away from whatever we're doing is not good or healthy, and we need to do something else? Like, how much money does it take? Because, like, let's be fair. At the end of the day, we've talked to a lot of people. Most of these execs at the top of these companies only really care about one thing, and that's money. They don't.
Yeah.
Honest to God, they don't care about anything else. They make decisions because they think it will make them money, not because they actually care about any social cause. They're just money's all they care about.
But you would think, like, at this point, if you only care about money, like, you wouldn't do that. But it's still happening.
Well, because it's also a different thing, because you have people at different levels that believe it. You have, higher people, maybe not at the corporate level, but at people that are managing studio level that do want to push this stuff, and we'll push it until they go out of business, essentially. So it's one of those things where it's like, realistically, like, if you did want to make a hard change away from what you're currently doing, that involves you firing a lot of people at the top.
Yeah,
because I know people talk about it, about the people at the bottom, just your regular designers that kind of get caught up, but you have to realize what's going on, see the writing on the walls, and start planning for that. But like, realistically, like, you have to like clean house if you're going to get a lot of the stuff out of there and bring in new people.
Yeah, and I do think things are starting. We are definitely. Things are changing. But there's still, there's still some stinkers along the way that we're dealing with, I guess. And I feel like maybe Ubisoft with some of the issues as far as like Assassin's Creed Shadows, like they may not have, like I think they definitely intentionally chose the story that they chose for that as far as the main character. I think some of the things along the way they may not have intentionally done. Like, I don't think they were trying to alienate the Japanese audience, like, for instance, by calling the main character a samurai. I don't think they did that on purpose, for instance.
No, I mean, there's probably people that believe it, because I think a lot of the idea with some of the stuff is like, well, you have this core base, but we could find these new people, so let's just focus on finding new people, not realizing if you don't give your core fan base what they want, or you start to alienate them, you can lose that core base of support. They're not just gonna be there forever. So is what you're looking for good? And there is a balance to keep your core base happy and to find new audiences. But like realistically, infinite growth is not like a realistic thing. Like there is a cap of like what you're going to be able to make, and you just have to sustain at what you're making. Like you have to focus on the core audience and then splinter off here or there. But if you completely don't care, attack them, and only looking for another audience that isn't as invested in maybe gaming or the community as a whole, it just causes problems. And you're seeing it right now. You know, you thought you have a Dragon Age is a very popular game, maybe not the most, but it's 12 million copies for Inquisition.
Yeah.
And when your second one is hitting, a tenth of that in sales, like that's a problem. You've lost a lot of your core fan base that just isn't just willing. We're at a point where people aren't just willing to just buy a game because it has a name on it, or it has a studio from when you were younger.
Yeah.
Because a lot more discourse. It's like, it's not the name. It's not the Dragon Age, or it's not Ubisoft or EA or BioWare. It's the people behind it that make the game, not the studio. And when those people leave, you're gonna get a different product. So because it's the same thing. The best analogy: you don't watch a movie because of the studio. You watch it for certain actors that you like. Well, it's the same thing in gaming. It's just not as public out there. You might like certain actors, but if you like certain types of games, you should be looking at, all right, who's the actual director? What have they worked on? Where did this director move to a different studio? That's probably who you should be following.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And we have to also keep in mind, like, people got to realize these studios are not the same thing they were 10, 15 years ago. Like, once upon a time, BioWare was a big name,
Yeah.
It was a big name. Dragon Age was a big deal. Like, whether I played Origin, and then I've got Inquisition, but never played it. But, it was a big franchise. That was one of like the big, what I call like the big three. It was like it felt like it was the Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Dragon Age type deal for a minute there. And then Dragon Age kind of fell off for some reason.
When you don't make a game for a decade, you're gonna that's already a problem for a well-known game series.
But they had 3 games, for instance, like on the PS3. So for that, that console cycle, it's pretty big.
Yeah. And people that made those games it's brand new people,
anymore.
top to bottom. Nobody that made those games is still there anymore. So you need to be aware of that when these new games come out.
Yeah, you can't be attached to the studio like that. I think it's a bad move. I
think people are slowly learning.
Yeah, they are. I think so too. All right, so we got this is a report coming in. I verified it with a few different websites, but supposedly Sony has some fixes coming in for the PS5 Pro to improve the gameplay experience. Obviously, there's been issues with the PSSR, which, I mean, to be fair, like, I think we kind of expected that. It's their first foray into machine learning and the whole deal with AI upscaling and DLSS and their version of it and all that stuff. So it looks like they've got some stuff they're going to be rolling out for the console. Should be interesting to see, because there are obviously one of the big ones was Silent Hill 2, where it had a lot of major issues, and they went from, they did an update for PSSR and then went right back to what's it called? What's the FSR? And then went back to PSSR again, where it's at right now, and it's pretty good. Like Digital Foundry did a video on it and talked about it, and so I was watching that to kind of stay up to date. And it looks like some of the games are getting patched and they're figuring out what to kind of do, but it looks like they're going to be rolling out some updates for the console itself, so that'd be interesting to see. And then did you see about the new AVGN game?
AVGN?
Yeah. Angry Video
Game. No, I did not. I haven't really watched Angry Video Game Nerd in quite a while.
Oh man, missing out. He's still the GOAT. Still the reason that we're doing this now, realistically.
Yeah, so it came out with a new NES game?
Yeah. So it's an actual NES game. It's going to be on modern platforms too, but it's going to come out in physical cartridge for NES. So yeah, it's just called the Angry Video Game Nerd 8-bit, I believe. So what the full title is. But yeah,
who's he publishing it through? for the physical?
It is going to limited run games for the NES game. I believe is what I saw retweeted. And then I don't know if they're doing the non physical for the modern platforms or not. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. That I'm not sure. It's a great question.
Yeah, because that's the actual clip, the actual cartridge.
Yeah, cool.
Because I mean, it looks like an old, at least from what I saw, the actual like an old style game. Yeah,
looks cool. Yeah, it's sick.
Yeah, I really think it is. Because I think he said he's also publishing it on some other platforms. Obviously, it's not only on the physical. You can get the digital. I think it was on Steam and some other PC stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be on Steam, Nintendo Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation, I believe. I was trying to pull up on Limited Run's website, and I actually don't see it. Maybe on their X account. Let me see. Can't get confirmation on it. They're doing like a physical for the modern platforms too, or not?
It would be nice, but I can't imagine it being that expensive. It's not. If you can put on a NES cartridge, it's not. It's in the megabits as far as the size.
Okay, so January 22nd, they just said we'll have more news to share about the physical NES release soon. Until then, check out the Steam page to learn more about the Nerd's newest adventure. So no confirmation. It looks like my guess is they're probably just doing the NES card, but that would be silly to not have a physical. Because his other games are physical. I don't know. It seems like he's like a physical media guy. So you would think like the modern platform releases would be there too, but I don't know.
Yeah, but it also can get expensive on the other ones because it's gonna like you barely need any space on a Blu-ray for like the Xbox and PlayStation. So
yeah, it's gonna be like a super small game. So
it might be harder to justify that, and it's just easier to do it digital only.
Yes,
unfortunately, it falls into like that whole indie style of it's just not financially feasible to make a hard copy unless you're just going to do pre-orders only.
Yeah, it could be one of those deals. So Game Rant put out that there is No Man's Sky developer teases potential new update. It just says it seems like a launch of yet another content update for No Man's Sky is nigh, thanks to a tweet from developer and Hello Games co-founder Sean Murray. Contents which have gotten fans excited over the possibility that part 2 of the game's Worlds update is finally here. Well, No Man's Sky has been putting out tons of content for fans, blah blah blah. So I don't know. Do you know what the Worlds update is?
That I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
know. Like we've played it periodically, but I don't. It's not something I like follow all the time, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that Worlds update. Might be interesting.
I assume it's be another decent update. Or they're trying to add more stuff, or I guess only time will tell.
Yeah, and then we got some interesting stuff here. Nintendo's stock hits all-time new high. Hit an all-time high of 9,775 yen following a Switch 2 reveal. Which I mean, to be expected. Well, I say to be expected, but I mean it hits a record high. That's a big deal.
Not surprising. They finally came out and announced the Switch 2, so it's a lot of because it's a lot of speculation based off of the Switch 2 is expected to do pretty well at launch. So people are buying into it now, obviously expecting the stock to continue to go up.
Let me ask you: do you think this outsells Switch 1?
Yes, that's a hard one because Switch 1 was like really the first time you get into it. Obviously, there's more competition. I think it's got a good chance to probably break the 100 million mark, but it's hard. Continuing, the Switch has been the first console in like 20 years to come close to the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, I mean,
you're talking. It's really hard to get that high-end console sales. Like I just don't think it will. It'd have to be super popular. Yeah, it's hard to tell
because like the hype around this console is like unprecedented. It's bigger than anything I've ever seen before.
Yeah, but that's the hype around your core people that are in the gaming area. And what you really need to do is have people that have a reason for people to upgrade from a Switch to a Switch 2 that are just, your regular everyday people that don't really follow it, your families and stuff like that. So I could see it a little bit harder. Obviously, they also need to support this for another 6 years, essentially.
I saw somebody make a post on X today that was kind of interesting. Shout out to Paul Gale, actually, is who posted it. So let me pull up his tweet about it. But it was, he said, Nintendo's got around $15 billion in the bank. A 30-second Super Bowl commercial only costs $8 million. There's no Nintendo Switch 2 presence at this year's game. It's not because they can't afford it. Rather, Nintendo doesn't find it necessary to be safe. Don't expect it to show up, but is it possible? Yes.
I don't know why you'd ever expect that. I don't think Nintendo is such a big company. Why waste the money? You don't need that. I mean, you look at the views they get on their directs.
Because, like, you pull up, for instance, I'll see if I can pull it up real quick. But like,
because the other problem is they'll have yet to officially have their direct. Like, they still have like another 2 months, or 2 months and like a week or so, like 2 weeks before we get the actual announcement for it with the actual information. The release date, the pricing, ideally some games and stuff for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just don't see them announcing, because what do you do? They're just going to show the same commercial. You're not going to have any information as far as the hardware, the pricing, the release date. It just doesn't make sense. If you're going to make a television console, that's after the official announcement. You have all the information. That's when you ramp up hard into the advertising side of it. This just doesn't make sense to me. I would expect that. I have zero expectations, and I wouldn't expect them to show up at all.
Yeah, so Nate said that he think it will break 100 million. It's a tough one, because like, I'm thinking about it. The Switch was like kind of an unprecedented console. It was weird. It was a console that came out, it was already behind in technology.
I think it's helpful. Like, gaming as a whole benefited from the pandemic, and then you saw the studios that were mismanaged because they didn't realize this was a unsustainable thing, and it was only because people couldn't do anything else. A lot of people weren't even working. 100% that's probably what it boosted the sales, because like games like their Sims equivalent. I can't think. I'm blanking on the name.
Animal Crossing.
Yeah, you had Animal Crossing also. Sorry, I blanked on the name. Animal Crossing's in that same aspect. That game is only so popular based off of when it came out at the right time.
100%. That's why those sales were so boosted. 100%.
It would have done well regardless, but the pandemic definitely boosted those game sales.
Another thing I've not heard anybody else talk about is the fact that a lot of households that have gamers in it, or multiple kids, have more than one Switch. I mean, me and you both have more than one Switch.
Yeah.
My daughter's got a Switch. If I had another kid, I'd have a Switch too.
It's affordable. You can have maybe one for you and the family. You get one of the lights for the kids to play with. Something that's a little bit more affordable. They can kind of move around with. Because usually when you think of families, the Switches, you can buy about 2 Switch ones for the price of a PlayStation, or even like a PS4, really.
Yeah.
Or it's maybe slightly over, and you can also kind of stagger that stuff out. Like, let's be fair. A lot of adults are hardcore gamers, but a lot of these sales are coming from parents that have kids. Like, that's still going to be a big chunk of where console and game sales go towards.
100%. And I think the other thing is too, if it's a $400 console, which I think it's fair to say it's for sure.
I think it caps out at 400. They're not going to go higher than that.
400. I think it has to be 400. It's not going to be any less than that. I think anybody.
So you get like a Switch 2 Lite.
Yeah, I mean, unless there's a light, how long after the Switch 1 came out did the Switch Lite come out? Was it like a year? Maybe?
I'm trying to pull it up real quick.
Yeah, I can't remember. You can just pronounce it. It's just easier, I swear.
Yeah, Switch Lite came out in September of 2019. So what, about 2 years later? Which I think makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then, I mean, a lot of people that, like myself, picked up a Switch Lite as well when it came out, for just myself. So yeah.
Oh, and I saw this apparently back in July. I don't know if we ever talked about this. Back in July of last year, the Switch became Nintendo's longest running console without a replacement since the NES.
Sounds about right.
Which is great. I mean, the Wii U obviously made sense, but the fact that they sat on this for what?
As long as they have,
like 8 years now, because it came out in 2017.
2017, yep.
So so you're sitting about 8 years. That's crazy.
I wonder how they've made 8 years with that. that console. You know what I mean? Like I'm still playing it now.
Yeah,
Like
it'll be 8 years in March, I guess technically, because that's when the console came out.
yeah, it's crazy because I
But
mean, like
it
think
was
of
so
the hardware.
popular. You look at the sales. There's no need to rush out a second console.
Yeah, for sure. Derpy Entertainment said it's 400 or 350. Not buying it if it's 500 because the chips they're using is kind of underwhelming.
I don't think
Yeah,
Nintendo wants to sell that high. Like, let's be
yeah,
fair.
it's
Like,
not gonna be.
these
I
massive
think it's gonna be
consoles
500.
are selling for that much. I think Nintendo wants to be that undercut price
I
across
think
the
that
board. That's
too.
another benefit towards it. Because you're maybe not getting it for multi-platform titles, but you're getting it for Nintendo titles. It's a family console. The price reflects that. But I mean, I think there's an obvious need. They can't charge $300 for it when you look at inflation and everything else with the upgrade. I think it'll be worthwhile.
Yeah, and you gotta think too. I wonder how many units COVID actually moved of the Switch because it was like there was a period of time there right at the beginning where you couldn't find one again. Like you couldn't find them again. They were sold out. I know my local store for sure. I can confirm it was this way. They were gone. Switch lights, regular switches, gone, all sold out. So like
I
when
guess it
COVID first
depends.
hit, it was just
I'm
crazy.
curious because I think it could hit. It'll probably hit at least at a it will break 10 million in the first year. I think it'll be between 15 to 20 million in its first year. I
Yeah,
think the first year sales will definitely determine, and then you can obviously people are gonna make the comparison between the Switch 1 and the Switch 2, but I
yeah.
think it needs a really good initial boost in its first year. Uh, and then obviously you're gonna look at subsequent years how much can it maintain sales and stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that first year is going to tell a lot, and then of course I expect the first like I don't know, give it a window of at least like 6 months is just gonna be kind of crazy with people trying to get one.
Yeah,
And
because
it
I do
looks like
believe the rumors
window where it's
they want to avoid that shortage with the
yeah,
kind of split it between 2 ways with the holiday when it first releases. So you want probably 10, 15 million units kind of banked up before you actually
they want to avoid
release it.
it, but then you think back to the pictures of people's with like a pallet full of PS5s and Series X's and
I think they have to avoid going only selling it online, digital only. 'Cause that's the problem. It's so easy to bot it.
well, they're the bad
If you
about
were to
that,
put
right?
them if you were to put a significant percentage in physical stores, which isn't a problem when those consoles came out,
Then that wouldn't
it
be such a
it
problem.
limits that stuff, especially when stores limit how many you can buy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's a good point. And then like they we talked about this last week, I think, or the week before that, where they take up like the most shelf real estate still.
Yeah,
Typical in
Switches
store.
don't take up that much real estate. The boxes are not big.
They don't, but like they've got the most like showcased area as far as like stores. Everything I've been in, like
Oh, yeah.
Switch has like the biggest section, if you will.
Yeah, but if you think of like stores think of like a GameStop, they're usually not that big. They don't have that big of a storage area. You
Yeah.
can store significantly more Switches or even the Switch 2 than you could a PS5 and Xbox One.
Oh, for sure.
The consoles are massive. You just can't have that many on storage.
Wonder how many switches you could put up against a PS5. Get it like the same size. Probably like at
I'd say
least
at least
10,
4
right?
to with the amount of space, just talking side by side,
Yeah.
4 to 5 probably.
4 to 5 to get the same thickness of a PS5? Like, make it the same size, thickness?
Well, it's hard because if you think of like just shelf space, it's not a one for one. But I think if you just stack them as far as like just the height of the box, realistically, maybe not the depth, I think you get 4 to 5 at least. And then you're not gonna be able to fit a full 2 for the whole width, probably. Depending on
Uh,
how you stack them. I don't know. I'm assuming the Switch 2 is gonna be it's obviously gonna be slightly bigger. So
yeah,
that's like a conservative estimate that I'd go with.
for sure.
Like a minimum. But as a
Derpy
whole, it would eat
Entertainment
up significantly less space.
for sure. Derpy Entertainment asks, "What capabilities do you think the Switch 2 will have or must have in order to say wow?"
I think it just needs
Uh,
to
I'm
just
already
better
kind of,
hardware.
like, wowed. I mean, like, I'm pretty excited, I would say. Um,
It just needs better hardware to
yeah,
like if you look at like the Nintendo games, I think that's not a hardware issue. That's a development problem.
I think
Because
it
when you look at like the Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom,
mhm,
which is like the perfect example, just to be able to maybe have more stuff happening on screen, have that render distance out a lot more,
yeah.
just a slight upgrade. Because when you look at Nintendo, because obviously it's their first party games that are going to make or break the
Oh, for
console
sure.
sales. That's why you buy these consoles.
100%.
Well, they're not going this Unreal 5 hyper realistic direction, which I think in some ways it started to hurt gaming. They stick with a more stylized aspect, which I'm not an expert. You'd assume it requires, less hardware to run in a more stylized way. It looks better. Like a game like Wind Waker can last, like you could play it today and it still looks almost as good as when it came out, compared to if you play like a Call of Duty from 2005, you can tell it's aged poorly because they were going, at the time, the realistic graphics looked good. Now they don't look as bad.
Yeah.
So when you look at the hardware on that side, it's not as bad. Plus, when you use what's a stylized art form or graphics, it's easier to hide imperfections with the hardware and your limitations. You can kind of get creative around that a little bit easier.
Yeah, I think like one of the big things that was mattered to me first, obviously I think matters to you too, is backwards compatibility, first of all, for physical games. So we've got that. I still do wonder, I mean, I guess we'll find out coming up here soon. Hey, are our games going to play better, or are they just playing the same on the new hardware? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I think by default they should just be able to run faster because it's not might not be hitting the limits of it. But I'm not an expert. You'd assume they're going to do some backwards on the software so the games just run better with like a quick little update. But I mean, the newer games 100% will run 10 times better. I think they will, because we're dealing with hardware that a console that came out in 2017. Realistically, you look at like 2015, 2016 hardware that's like a decade old at this point.
Yeah, the hardware was already outdated when it came out, so that was an interesting thing about that particular move. But then it was the first like hybrid console. Now you see it everywhere. There's hybrid consoles everywhere. You got your.
To be fair, Nintendo opened the door on that, or they take that wall down.
They definitely did. Look at handhelds now. They're like, I like to say, I think they're more popular than ever amongst gamers. I mean, there's so many. Yeah. Holy crap!
Well, because it's you're not having to make that trade off like back around the Game Boy Advance and DS era. You might have the same game on a handheld, but it's essentially a fully different game because it doesn't have the power to run 3D graphics. We're finally at a point where a handheld essentially can realistically run console level graphics, or maybe it's just slightly downgraded. So that's less of an issue, especially when people came out like with the Steam Deck, where you don't have to rebuy games for a handheld. You can just, games that you play on your PC, you can play on the go.
Yeah,
it's like a 1-for-1 swap.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And the technology, the pricing's obviously come down. You're going to still find $1,000 handhelds, but those are going to be more geared towards a hardcore. But just the overall technology is more accessible. And after seeing the Switch, there's an obvious market for it. They didn't have to take the risk. Let Nintendo take the risk. And then once you see there's popularity for it, then you can really go all in, knowing that there's some markets depending on like what people want to do.
Yeah, I mean, I guess since we're already talking Switch 2 and you brought up the Steam Deck, one of the things that's been going around this week is that, let's see if we got the wrong screen up. Okay.
It's a little bit.
Nintendo Switch 2 reveal seems to have hurt Steam Deck sales. So, I mean, like, 100%. To me, it says the Switch 2 reveal appears to have impacted Steam Deck sales, causing it to drop from number 3 to number 47 on the Steam charts. The Steam Deck has consistently remained in the top 10 weekly Steam charts, making this the first time the console has fallen out. So I feel like this is like to be expected to me.
I think this is one of those proofs that, you can have multiples because they're going to do different things. But, people that want to play Nintendo games, like most people aren't going to, play them illegally or torrent them or something like that. Like it might be technically underpowered, but people are still going to go buy this console.
Yeah, 100%. I think
obvious market for it.
For sure. Like you think of, we talked about this before. You think of, you got a PC gamer who isn't a console gamer, but he still owns a Switch for Nintendo games. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like you might be a PC gamer all day, but you still got a Switch there for.
It's one of the things. If you can afford a PC and say a Steam Deck or a ROG Ally with how expensive those are, you can afford a Switch, which is cheaper than maybe a PlayStation or Xbox. If you have those
ROG Allies,
and if you have like a PC and you've got other consoles, you can afford another Switch. Like money, you're not hurting that badly for money.
Yeah, for sure. It seems to be the case. It's always like I've got either a PC or I've got a PS5 and Switch. It's always and Switch is added to it. So people, if you're a gamer, you've usually still got to switch for those Nintendo games, which, you know, a lot of people are like, you know, I got to play my Pokemon, I got to play my Zelda, whatever it might be. This doesn't surprise me at all, though it obviously is, you know, apparent that that is the case, because if it's the first time it's dropped out of the top 10 since it's been out and the Steam Deck's been out for quite a while, that's a sure sign that, yeah, that's legit to
And
me.
then just because I brought it up, because I did see leaks earlier this week about it. Do you think we'll have a Zelda game at launch, but it's like a remake? Because there were rumors coming around that maybe
Yeah,
like a Wind Waker HD could be coming to the Switch, potentially like a Switch 2, like around the same time. It would be cross-platform, but you get like some of these older games, because they have been slowly bringing older games back. I don't think this game necessarily needs like a remake or remaster, like some of the old Game Boy games and stuff like that, but like just finally porting over the Wii U version of this game.
well, to me, it's like it came out in HD on the Wii U, so it's like, give me some 4K at least going on here.
Well, yeah, upscale it, but you don't really need to do a whole lot behind
No,
the
you
scenes
don't
with
get
the
to do a
game.
whole lot to that. But
You think this is like
this
this
is
leak
straight
has like
Wii U game from, you know,
well, I mean,
however
most
long
of the Wii U games had some kind of upscaling from the Wii U to the Switch, but do you think like this is like a realistic like rumor?
um I want to say I don't know, because there's also been rumors that, hey, we're getting a new 4K version of Breath of the Wild. Like, this has been a rumor for a while for the
But
Switch.
that would kind of like with this, it doesn't really you're not remaking the game, you're just kind of upscaling the graphics to make it look better. And I
Yeah,
don't think they really are going to put that much. I mean,
to
obviously
me,
the
it's
game
like,
made a lot of money, but like it's one of those things where it's like a lot of games just get a upscale version of graphical fidelity, ideally some frame rates, and it just runs smoother on the Switch too. Like you don't need to go in and change a whole lot of stuff behind the scenes. Like the game is more or less fine how it is. You just need to fix some of the performance stutters the game obviously had
and I
with
feel,
the
feel like
limitations of the hardware.
DLSS would do that if they're taking advantage of their own hardware with
Yeah,
that machine learning.
I
I
would
think that would be
agree.
enough.
I'll agree with like 1440 or 4K if I get consistent 60. I'll take 1080p if
Well,
it's
we
just
did.
more consistent at 60 FPS all the way through with the game, regardless of how much is going on screen. You just don't have any performance stutters.
Let me look this up, because I'm pretty sure the frame rate is locked on Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, but like let's be fair.
Is it locked at 30?
Occasionally you have dips in performance when there's a lot going on screen. It doesn't happen often, but at times you can be like, oh yeah, I can see it's hitting the limitations of what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, especially Tears of the Kingdom, right? When you're like jumping from the sky and stuff like
Yeah, I
that.
think Tears is far more of an issue because there just is a lot more
Yeah,
going on with the game. But both
way
of those
more going
games had issues where it's like they did their best, but they're just hitting portions where it's just like if the hardware was just better, it would be a very consistent, smooth performance all the way through.
Yes, I'm not getting like a specific answer here, but it looks like generally people are saying 30 locked in combat, dense areas, it stumbles into the 20s. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's definitely like areas where if there's a bunch of enemies on screen, or like you're just coming in like real quickly or something to the ground, like you can see a little bit of stuff
yeah.
going on.
So I'll take the graphical upgrade as long as there's
For
no
sure, because I'm
performance
still playing
downgrade with
Tears
that.
of the Kingdom. Still playing it, so it'd
I
be
just go
cool.
back and
I
beat
thought
it. But
about
would you?
stopping and just replaying it on the Switch too, because it might be, you know, it might play significantly better. So I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe I should just drop it, because I'm still playing it now. Like,
But would you want like a Wind Waker remake on the Switch too if it came out at launch? Obviously,
what? Yeah,
it comes out on it comes out on both, but it just comes out the same day the Switch does. Would that be something you would be like excited for?
I, I personally would be more excited about Twilight Princess, which also got the HD remake or
I mean, why not? Why
remaster.
not both? It's not like it would
Yeah, right.
require them
I
to do
mean,
all
that's
that
what we
much.
thought for a while, right? Like, we're going to get a package
Or at
deal.
least, hey, within the next year, these two remakes are gonna drop.
I would love, yeah. I mean, I would love to see either one. Um, I don't think it's gonna happen though.
I mean,
I
these
don't
are like a
actually think it's
handful
gonna
of
happen.
games of we've got a lot of Zelda games that have finally come to the Switch, whether it's the physical or it's their like the SNES, the NSO essentially. So bringing some of these games over, I think would be great to
Be
get
huge.
all the library in one location, one way or another, whether it's the NSO or you have like a physical remake or like a remaster.
Yeah, because for a while there, if you owned a Wii U, it was the best place to play like all Zeldas, because like everything was on it, right?
Yeah.
up until Tears of the Kingdom came out, of course. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it, but I don't know. I think they've got Mario Kart ready to go. 3D Zelda, I think, comes before anything else in Metroid Prime 4. I think those are big first 3 games.
I would say Metroid at this point. You think it has to be good to go. They're just wait. It's a game that's just waiting to release.
It's gotta be.
How long they've been working on it at this point? You're sitting here like, I mean, we're gonna find out in first week of April what's going on with these games. I assume people talk about a different direct. By that direct, you're probably going to know what games are coming out on it as well when they're finally going to announce it. You'll have either gotten a direct before, or it's just going to be one really long direct.
Yeah, Derpy says, I want Ocarina of Time remake with full HD graphics instead of the cartoonish OG style. I have seen that. People have done it in Unreal, and it's beautiful. It looks amazing. So it's like, Nintendo
I don't think you get it,
but I don't think they do it. You know what I mean? Because they're Nintendo.
I think you get too much of a hyper realistic with the Unreal Engine. It looks great, but it's not like a graphical style that I recognize with Zelda. Maybe more of a Twilight Princess art style.
Yeah. You think of like Twilight Princess, and it's like, oh yeah, I'm going for the serious dark tone.
Yeah, but I think that art style just ages the worst. So you want to stick with something that's more that stands out, and regardless of the hardware, it'll always look good in like a stylized fashion.
I agree with you. I mean, I think it does. Yeah, it doesn't age as well. Like you look at Wind Waker, like you were saying earlier, the game still looks great on the GameCube, and then you think of the Wind Waker HD, it looks absolutely beautiful. Like the game's beautiful.
Yeah, the art style is essentially timeless compared to Twilight Princess, or it's a little bit it's just not aged as well because it went a more realistic dark route compared to a lot of these other games. Because even in the remakes that you get,
like, it doesn't hold up like Wind Waker does just visually, you know.
Yeah, because what is it? We got Link's Awakening, and you've got the new the other game, the Zelda game that came out back in September. Sorry, I was blanking on that one. They stuck with that stylized art style that is not realistic at all. So I would feel like that's the route Nintendo would go, regardless of what anybody would really want. They've kind of made it known that's the kind of art style they would go if they just completely from the ground up remade these games.
Yeah, and I agree with my opinion. Entertainment. It would break the internet if they did that with an Ocarina of Time remake. I think it would for sure. Like, and what I saw like with the Unreal stuff where people have put it in there and worked really hard on it. You can play the game like that. You can actually play like somebody's ported Ocarina of Time to PC where you can run it like some crazy frame rate.
Oh yeah, when you have like like a 4090 level hardware, you can do a lot with it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like they it's nuts. But I mean, yeah, it's there. Like you can look it up. I can't necessarily pull it up. Nintendo will come and grab me, but definitely look it up. It's on. If you got a PC, I think that came out probably like 6-7 years ago or something. So that was way before the 4090 even came out. So you can run it on some older hardware. But yeah, I mean, it's great. It's interesting what people do with these games on PC for sure. All right, so we got okay, so we talked about this like very briefly before the podcast. Trump's proposed tariffs on Mexico can make video games more expensive. And the whole deal behind this of what they're talking about is because all the physical media, all the physical discs are made in Mexico. Does this have any impact, Mark?
No. Well, first of all, when you're dealing with politics, God knows there's people say one thing to get an influence.
Yeah.
Who knows what's actually going to happen? So that's like a wait and see type thing.
It could make.
I see this less of
America now. You know.
Yeah. Right. In the great state, 51st state of Canada or whatever. That stuff's so funny, man. But this feels like more of an excuse for them to charge more, because I put a little bit lower down in the notes because people in the industry were talking GTA 6. They hope it costs $100 because then we could just make that the new standard.
Mm-hmm.
Problem is, like, let's be fair, none of these studios make games that are even as good as GTA 5. Like GTA 6 could ask that much money because it's going to be a game that's that good. Dragon Age can't ask that money. It's a dog crap game. It's not good. Nobody's gonna buy your game at that price point. They didn't buy it at $70. This feels like one of those other things where they're trying to find an excuse to just jack up game prices because their sales are terrible, because they make terrible games. 100%, they're gonna try to use that. But are people actually going to start paying more? Are they going to start adding $10 every year to AAA games? I find that hard to believe.
Here's my thought on this too. Like, what is the crazy number of digital sales versus physical media now anyway? Like,
I thought it was like
it's like 9. Isn't it like a 90%, 10% split now? Isn't it like
really, it was still like a 70-30 or a 60-40 split?
It might be. I'll see.
Because we looked it up a while ago, where a majority of people still prefer having access to physical games.
Well, yeah, when we were talking about like, I guess like the disc drive for the PS5 Pro and stuff like that, that's still selling out. You still.
Well, I would say this: if you're looking at digital games, it's going to be like a sports game, like a Madden, a FIFA, a Call of Duty. But when you look at some of the more single player games or more games in general, I think there's still a significant portion. There's a significant market for physical, whether they're going to a store or buying it or not. I think there's people that's like, I'll buy this game physical and I'll buy this game digital, just depending on the type of game it is.
So yeah,
that's 100% something that I do
for sure, and it's different from console to console. So I'm like looking up here on. So for like instance for Sony, it's a 70-30 split, which makes sense, but it's like it's interesting.
I think Steam does the same thing. Steam takes like a 30% cut. Well, for like certain games, sometimes they take significantly more.
No, I meant like a 70-30.
Oh, sorry. Are you talking physical or are you talking percentage they take?
No,
financially.
Physical media sales.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
No, you're good.
So what's the digital physical? Is it 70 digital?
Like 70-30 for Sony. Let me see if I can.
So that's the majority digital compared to physical, right?
But I imagine like Nintendo, for instance, I could still see it being an easy 50-50 split. But
mainly because the Switch has no internal hardware, like the storage is abysmal.
Well, it's like it's a hybrid handheld console, so it's like a lot of people. I see the argument that a lot of people don't want to fuss with the digital anymore, especially if they're like on the go. Like for instance, remember the one time you had to travel and you forgot Dragon Age or
Dragon Quest.
Dragon Quest. Like at that point in time, I would have been like, "Damn, I wish I would have bought."
But I think there's a difference. Like first of all, the Switch cartridges are significantly the actual box they come in smaller. Yeah, the cartridges are not that big, so it's easier to store them compared to like a full size disc. Even if you're just trying to save space on a shelf.
Yeah, for sure. And I just when I think of Nintendo, like Nintendo fans, like a lot of them still want to have their stuff physically, especially when it just. Like for some reason, that seems to ring more true with a Nintendo fan, for instance, versus an Xbox fan, where like I imagine their split's got to be like 80-20, 90-10.
Yeah, but it's also another one of those things where it's the Switch went back to the cartridge, it's more like a flash storage, which now that the storage has come a lot up, it's a lot faster when you're loading stuff comparing to having to read a disc. You have like a hard cap on the amount of memory when it comes to loading. Obviously, moving to the SSD helps with that, especially with the internal storage.
Yeah,
but having a flash drive eliminates a lot of the need for like loading screens and stuff.
That's why I'm really excited about
especially on an underpowered system.
The micro SD card express, so essentially runs near the speeds of an SSD. So there should be, especially with Nintendo games, essentially no load times. Ideally, like as far as I've seen, it's a brand new technology. Like these micro SD cards literally just dropped. So they run at like 90 megabits per second. I believe I was just reading this earlier. Micro SD card express, just to confirm. Okay, not 90 megabits per second, 8.8 times faster read speeds, and 4.4 times faster than the standard micro SD card. So that's huge. Those are big numbers. If it's really that faster, then that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah, just having the because to be fair, with the SSDs and the Blu-ray, a lot of it still gets downloaded, so it's less of a loading screen issue.
Yeah,
but for something like the Switch, trying to find a roundabout with a flash drive, essentially, to get around that loading thing is definitely something they have to take into account compared to like, you don't want people just sitting on like a 30-second loading screen. Like maybe in 2009, people were used to that and accepted that. Now it's, you have to find a way around that to avoid that.
You got to at least in some regards compete with modern platforms. There's some trade-offs, there's some things you got to compete with, and like load times are definitely one that you want to, people value their time a little bit more these days.
Yeah, and the technology's there for it. You had cartridges, which were big and expensive. The technology went to discs, but the flash storage technology has come around. It's more affordable. It's smaller. It holds significantly more memory. So you can make that lateral back over. And it's not like Nintendo ever stopped using it. Every form of the DS essentially used the same form of cartridge. Mm-hmm. It wasn't rendering the type of stuff it was, but Nintendo has that experience with the evolution of Flash all the way up until the Switch. So it's not something that they were just trying to like go back into blind. Like they had to have seen with the DS where the technology for that stuff was going and being like, I think the technology and the affordability is here. We can make this hybrid console work.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely, it was interesting because you got to think for a long time Nintendo was doing a console and a handheld together. You know what I mean? So they definitely learned along the way. Development for the handheld portion of it, development for the home console, and like they just figured out, man, somewhere along the way, which is an interesting thought you think about now, like hybrid console. Like who would have thought of that? You know what I mean?
Like Nintendo, obviously, because they were on the front end of it, and then I'm sure there are some people thinking like, oh, this is stupid, it's never going to take off. And then 8 years later, it's extremely dominant and prevalent.
Yeah, huge. Yeah, I actually saw a video. It was a clip from Kit and Krista. They do their podcast. They used to be Nintendo employees, and they were interviewing, I cannot remember his name, but he was one of the designers for the Nintendo Switch, and they wanted to do the magnetic Joy-Cons for the first Switch. So like that tells you right there that Nintendo never lets an idea go.
It's one of those things like we want to do this, but like,
and they're doing
maybe the technology is not quite there. I wonder how long Nintendo had been thinking about the hybrid. Exactly like could you, to be honest, you talk about the Wii U with the gamepad where it's like, they want to do it, but they just can't make that jump yet. Sorry, I can't stuttering. The technology's not there, or it's just too expensive right now to make that leap.
Right. They wanted to do it. The gamepad was like a trial for doing that.
It proved it could work. Now you just have to disconnect it from and put all the hardware in that pad, make it more ergonomical, a little bit smaller.
Yeah. So what we were asked earlier about features for the Nintendo Switch that we want to see, I actually want to see this, and I think it might damn well be one of the features. Might be that secret button that they didn't reveal in their trailer, but we know exists there, like the C button, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But I want to see, because I love this feature. I loved the idea of if you're playing at home, you're playing on the Wii U. I loved being able to use that second screen in your hand. So I would love to see the feature of being able to, hey, the dock, I can undock this, still use the Switch as like a second screen for some ordeal, whatever it may be. I would love to see that again because I love that.
I know it was
there and stuff.
And I know the trailer was more like a CG render, but based off what they showed us with that, the dock looks even smaller than what we had with the Switch one. It looks very thin. Like there's just nothing there.
Bigger. I think it's just the Switch is bigger. I actually don't think the dock is much smaller. It could be. It did look a little.
Because I had the same thing where like I want there to be more hardware in the actual dock. Plain docked, you can have a significantly upgraded hardware, though that adds more to the cost overall.
Right.
But looking at the trailers, like I think they're going to stick with what the Switch did, but they're going to be a little bit more. They're just going to try to be a little bit more ergonomical and shrink it down. Like they don't need this big bulky thing. Well, equivalent to what the Switch is. Like they can slim it down.
It makes you wonder what that C button means, because I keep thinking it means something about connect. Like connect to the dock and use it that way. I feel like because that Wii U feature, that was the best part of the Wii U, right? Right there was that being able to have like a secondary screen for whatever it might be. It might be your storage, like your in-game, storage. It might be a map. It might be a second screen to actually use like with the game. It could be a lot of things. Like I liked that feature for the Wii U. I did like that a lot. Thought it was really cool. So definitely be interesting to see for sure. So we've got you see about the McDonald's Pokemon TCG stuff?
No, I think I actually missed this one, unfortunately.
Really? Okay, so I'll actually share this. Everybody watching too.
I've been to McDonald's in like 2 days, so.
Sorry, it has been cold. You eat fast food every day. No, so here's the should be able to see it there. There's the 3 boxes for the new Pokemon TCG McDonald's collab. Got Rayquaza, which is obviously the coolest one there. Charizard and Dragonite and Pikachu. Just the boxes are pretty cool. People are, oh my god, people are stupid. So people are backdooring these. I pulled it up on. I'll see if I can pull it up now. I don't know if I can or not this quick. But I saw one sell. Somebody backdoored a whole case of the cards. $1,500 is sold. I'm trying to see if I can pull up that sale. But I sent it to Lucas. I don't think I sent it to you, Mark, earlier in the week.
I don't think so. I get a lot of stuff, so sometimes I see it and forget to follow up on it.
Yeah, I don't know how to do here on the desktop as far as all sold items. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, I saw a whole case already get backdoored out of the restaurant or wherever, warehouse, whatever it might be, and it sold for $1,500. So this article is basically telling us here. It says promo packs are selling for up to $1,000 online. Trading cards have only been available at McDonald's locations for 1 day, and this was published 2 days ago, of course. So we're covering all this week. Recently, demand for Pokemon cards have been incredibly high, with specialty shops even reporting break-ins. So
people are insane.
People are insane. You saw some of the video footage of whatever this latest Pokemon TCG release was, where people were like swarming and grabbing handfuls of them.
Yeah, they're acting like literal children over something that's gonna be very easy to find. Like they're gonna get restocked. Like, you need to chill down.
This is how bad it was. I saw a 12-minute compilation video of people doing this, and this is all for this whatever this latest journeying together, whatever it's called. I can't remember. This new box set, whatever cards. Yeah, it's definitely interesting.
All this is gonna
Pokemon cards right now.
All that's gonna lead to are stores clamping down on massive restrictions on how much you can buy, because like it's ridiculous. Like you open the doors and you have grown adults just running to the back to scalp them essentially.
Yeah, it's wild. It's just wild.
Like, are you gonna get to these stores being like, all right, 1 per person, that's it, come back tomorrow?
I mean, they're cool, but it's like, I mean, it almost makes me not want to care at all. That's how I kind of feel about it.
It definitely makes it harder, because you're like, this is just like, it's a bad look, because a lot of these people aren't even fans of it. They just see it as a means to make money. That's all it is.
Yeah. Because
a lot of these people that are doing this are trying to get there because they can immediately turn around, double the price online, and make a quick buck for people that are impatient and can't find it themselves, knowing that eventually you're not gonna have a problem finding it in stock.
I'm thinking about going to go try to get one, because there's just this one. It's not even shiny. It's just an Umbreon. Like a pretty basic looking card, to be honest with you.
I mean, most of the cards are relatively inexpensive, and even some of them, there's like maybe a handful of cards that are going to be triple digits. Most of the cards you can get under $10.
Yeah, most of them aren't worth anything at all. Like,
because I might buy a box or two, open. I'm not going to complete a set. If I really care to complete a set, I'll just buy the individual cards. It's faster and it's cheaper. But then especially if you don't care about if you're not going to grade them, you just want to have the cards.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of lost the magic for me, because this stuff's been going on for a while. But now
it's a constant thing. It is a gotcha. There's constantly new sets like every 3 months coming out. So like having like a master set or just to complete one of every card, it's not the easiest thing to do in the world. But it's just something that it's fun periodically. But if I get it, if I get it, if I don't, I don't. Whatever.
Mr. Coffee said best. It's FOMO.
I mean, that's what gotcha is. But it's just opening the packs. It's just something fun to do periodically. Save up some money. If you get something that you want, great. If not, you've got cards to play the game with. It's a trading card game at the end of the day. you buy some stuff, you can have duplicates, you trade with people to try to like finish a set or something like that, or just get the cards you want. Because I think I see a lot of people when it talk about the cards, like completing a set, whether it's one of every card or like a master set, which is harder and harder because there's just so many cards. I see a lot of people talk about it. It's easier if you're trying to collect something specific. Like I want every, I don't know, Mew imaginable or every Dusclops out there of every set. Or you're going after certain cards. Like I'm going after certain trainer cards or something like that. Like find something niche to collect, because like collecting every single card of every single set, like that's just
not realistic.
Unless you're just going to buy the cards individually, like especially like if you go to a convention where they do that, buying the boxes and just blind opening, you're going to spend thousands of dollars on each set to try to get every single card.
Yeah, at this point, I've gotten to where it's like, yeah, I kind of want these cards for these Pokemon I really like. I've got like a top 5.
Yeah,
like I've gone through it 100 times. Like Gardevoir.
But it's like if you go into it as a financial investment, you're not going to have fun. You're going to probably be let down. You're probably not going to make the money. Unless you're sealing, if you're holding on to sealed product, that's the only way you're going to make money with those cards. Or that's sealed product that you either scalp when it first comes out, or you have to wait 10, 20, 30, 10 or 10 plus years for it to actually have value down the road.
Yeah, I saw a picture of a girl laying at home on a literal pallet of these things, and I think she had said there was like 400 boxes. So she spent however much they are. How much do those boxes go for? Like the
is it the trainer boxes? Usually $50-$60 a box.
So if you got 400, what's the math on that? That's
several $1,000s.
A lot of money. And she's
I would say
on them, and I'm like, what the hell?
So what's that? 400? Oh, we'll just say $60.
All right.
About $24,000.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And she probably she spent around that. And that's like you spent this. If you're trying to, first of all, yeah, maybe 5 years when it's out of print, you can sell them for $20, $30, $100 more.
Yeah.
But it's not even that. It's, can you sell all of that when the time comes? Or are you going to be selling some here, some there, and you might sit on this for a few decades before you can, fully empty it out? Because the price might go up, but that means there's less people willing to buy it.
Yeah, my guess is
like 100,
you don't care.
Spending like $200 on a box. It's like a few sets out of print or a few games out of print. You can make money. People will pay for it, but like, how many people are willing to going to pay for that price? And then, maybe you spent $24,000 and you only net $5,000. Was it really worth it?
Was it worth it? And it's like trickled money too. It's like, oh, I sold one box set this week. You know what I mean?
Like the best you have is to scalp it at the very beginning, and you're trying to sell it before the restock comes in, and it becomes, and they're about to release the next set.
How about just not scalp at all?
I'm like, there's so many sets. Like the only other set that's hard to find is the 151 Sword and Shield set. It's still not impossible.
People selling it,
but that's a very specific reason people want it, because some sets are obviously better than others for certain cards. But it's like, eventually you'll buy those, and you could still find them for MSRP.
Yeah, I still see them selling though above MSRP, the 151,
because people buy them and resell them online.
Yeah, it's wild.
It's a really popular set. But I mean, if you just want a certain card out of the set, you can just buy the card for most cards are pennies.
Yeah, they're not worth anything.
It's the rare, the super rare, and even most of the rare cards are under $5 to $10. Like, to be fair, it's only a handful of cards that are going to be $50 or $100 out of the set, and those are usually like the chase cards, which is going to be a handful of cards, and that's either because of the type of card or type of Pokemon it is, or because it's a really good card that's either looks neat or it's really good in competitive play. Why certain people go after certain cards.
Okay, so
but the vast majority of a set, unless it's like really old sets, are just not that hard to come by if you're just buying the individual.
Here's a good example. So the Surging Spark set, which came out in November of last year, it's only a few months ago. The Hyper Rare is 1 out of 188 pools. The Special Illustration is 1 out of 87. The Illustration Rare is 1 out of 13. Ultra Rare 1 out of 15. Ace Special, whatever that is 1 out of 20. So those Hyper Rares, I mean, you got to think about that. It's 188 packs.
Yeah, that's like the odds. You could open it in 2. You could open it in like 500.
That's a lot of money to spend if there's one specific card you want, for instance.
Well, that's an average. On average, that's how many packs you'd have to open. Like I said, it's a hit or miss thing. But for a lot of people, it's probably cheaper just to buy that individual card than to buy a bunch of packs. Because for the price for some of these you could buy like a 1 or 2 trainer box price worth to just buy the card itself.
Mr. Coffee said it's not that bad of a cost. Sports cards are next level crazy. There's a set, just saw a video where one pack is valued at $100. Whole box is around $1,500, and this is 2024 pack.
Yeah, like sports cards are if you really were into trading cards for the money, the sports cards are insanely expensive.
There's a sports card business near me that wants me to run their social media, and I was like kind of looking at some of the stuff, and I was like kind of shocked at looking at some of the prices and stuff, and I was like, wow, this stuff's going for a lot of money.
Yeah, but there's also not a lot of people willing to pay that price tag for it unless they pull it and then they want to sell it.
It depends. Yeah, it's like, and then you get into the graded card thing, and it's like, I don't like graded stuff. I mean, like if it was for me, like personally, like if there's a card, it is just for me and not like a resale thing, then I don't care, because there's some stuff like where
because I mean it's sealed,
so preserved for myself.
It's sealed. I think a lot of graded stuff is somewhat subjective at the end of the day.
Yeah,
but unless if you have like zero interest in reselling your cards, I think it's a waste of money to get them graded. Like you get chase cards graded because it adds value to the card, which means you inevitably would be willing to sell or trade the card down the road. If you're not willing to do that, I think it's just it's a waste of money at the end of the day. Just make sure you put it in a sleeve, put it in top loader, and just keep it protected essentially.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But that's just me. I have zero interest. I don't do this for money. I don't really have any cards that are that expensive. It's fun to just sit down and open packs.
That's why I like Pokemon TCG Pocket. It kind of takes that barrier of giving a crap about I don't know.
Let's be fair. If you get into the cards,
pull on the cards, man. You know what I mean? Like I don't play the game. You don't play the game. We just like to pull. Like,
after a while with the packs, especially when you first open packs, you're gonna have more new cards than duplicates. After a while, you're gonna put a lot of duplicate cards that are worth pennies, like 1, 2, 3 cents maybe. Even a lot of the reverse hollows aren't really worth all that much, maybe a quarter or something like that.
Mr. Coffee says, speaking of grading, did you know there's a whole collector's group called Collecting Pokemon PCA Graded 1? Not a 10 grade, but a 1 grade.
I could believe it's a small little hobby.
Getting the worst graded card you can. I can see it, yeah.
You just need to damage the card.
Yeah, it's just like, what can I do to this card? Burn the corner, stomp on it a few hundred times. But
I mean, getting cards graded is not the cheapest.
Isn't there 0.5 grading? I thought there was a 0.5 grade. Maybe it's WADA that does that.
It's also what service are you using?
It might be WADA for video games. It does 0.5. I could be misremembering. I don't know. I know somebody does a 0.5 grading. Definitely.
Yeah, because like if you just look at PSA that I pulled up, if you just wanted to say send in a single card, it's $25. You can just get one card graded with about a 45-day turnaround.
You can grade at GameStop now too.
Well, GameStop will send it into PSA for you.
Oh, okay. So it's kind
of like say like if you you can send cards in bulk, but you're still spending, on the cheaper end of some of the bulk stuff. It's $15, $16, $17 a card to get it graded if you send a bunch in. So like, unless you have a card that's actually worth money, a lot of the times it's probably not even worth getting cards graded because you're just going to lose money on the value.
Yeah.
Like if I send in one card for $25, like if the card's not worth the money, that's $25 just to get a card graded, and you don't even know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Take that into account.
And then you'll be all mad that you got a 7. It's like, I don't know.
It makes sense for PSA I get why they charge that much, but like unless you're the ones grading the cards, I don't think it's really worth the money unless you have a chase card.
Lucas sent in that crazy Umbreon that's worth like a crap ton of money, and it got graded a 9, so it's worth even more money. It's worth like significantly more money now. That whatever, like Umbreon's like on the buildings, I'm talking about, that crazy rare card. It's like one of the One of the best
Oh
trading
yeah, it's like
cards
the
I've got
shadow.
in
It's
years.
yeah, it's like one of the more. It's one of the most expensive.
Yeah, yeah, it's one
I
of the
don't
most.
remember what it's.
I
It's a
can
chase
pulled it
card. I don't
out of
remember what it said.
those Walmart those Walmart packs that are like kind of I don't know, they repackage them or whatever they do to them, but they're in like a kind of blank packaging sort of thing. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Walmart
kinda.
does that, like, it's some kind of weird packaging.
Yeah. Yeah, because Mr. Coffee, but about yeah, it makes sense they're going away from games because it's going more digital. But I mean, physical training always has a thing. I think it's for a lot of these store owners, it's just more profitable. I mean, even GameStop's doing the same thing. They're going towards the graded card stuff just because that's where a lot of the money is. And people will come in to buy the physical stuff because it's really hard to buy new stuff online with a
Yeah,
lot
I've
of
actually
scalpers.
heard about this video games versus trading cards because a lot of, video game stores also sell trading cards, and I've heard
Or
that
it's like a mix. They
from
might still have the more retro physical, but they're getting into the card because it just makes sense.
yeah, like, my store when I asked them, like, my local retro store, when I asked them, they were, like, making more money from Magic cards than they were video games, and, like, it's a video game store.
Well, because then you can also sell those, and then you can host tournaments, and it brings more.
Yeah,
It gives
they
people
do
a
that.
reason to come into your physical store, and then they might not spend a lot of money, but they buy some stuff here, buy some stuff there. Maybe you've got duplicates that you've traded for, or you're selling packs or boxes of these older cards where a lot of these places can make the money. Well, and a lot of these same places, same stores will go to like conventions and sell stuff where you can trade cards and just buy
Yeah,
individual cards and stuff like that. Even if a lot of these cards aren't really all that rare, might the value might be a penny. You bought it for a few cents, you trade for it, you sell it for like 5 cents. You do that enough, you're gonna make some money here or there on top of the big value items that you can sell as well. Because a lot of these stores will also just sell. They'll get cards graded, sell those cards graded. They're gonna sell more uh, for the than what they obviously spent on the card. But you
yeah, they
can
got
buy. It's a whole like market with trading cards. It's crazy.
You think, trading cards are bigger than they ever have been, like, just in general?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
I mean, Pokemon was crazy back in the day, but
yeah,
people. Let's be fair. Like
I think
as far as
just
like the financial side
realize
of it was still somewhat limited, and that hype kind of died down through like the 2000s and then the 2010s.
yeah, that when it first came out, it was definitely, like, a crazy
Especially for some of these older
stock
cards, you
weekend.
can track like the 20-year prices of it. And right around 2020, 2019 is when the price for a lot of these cards started shooting up and getting more expensive.
It's crazy, man. I think just, like, all hobbies have had a big upswing, in
Yeah.
'em. It just
But a lot
seems
of people kind of like us, they maybe grew up in the day collecting Pokemon cards.
yeah,
You got older, you lost interest in it. Now that you're older, you've got money, you get disposable income, and now you're like, oh hey,
back to
this thing's still here. Let's
yeah,
get back into it type thing.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Alright, we've got, Banjo-Kazooie composer has 0 hope for new game. So they said composer has worked on the original Banjo-Kazooie. Grant Kirkhope has revealed he's not hopeful for a new game on the franchise on social media. Kirkhope stated he has 0 hope for it. He said, "I've said it before, but I have 0 hopes for another Banjo game. Plus, all you diehard fans would instantly hate it and slag it off. No matter how good it was, it never works." That's what he said on,
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
yeah. Yeah, it's a bummer to hear, but I feel like I disagree strongly. I feel like, now we've got a bigger chance than
It just
ever.
needs to not be a nuts and bolts
Yeah, it
situation.
needs
It
to
might
not
be a
be
little
nuts
niche,
and bolts.
and you have to like do something new, like with kind of what Astrobot did. You have to like get
Yeah.
creative with it. But I think there's still a market for it. It's just one of those things. As long as you're not dealing with
I mean,
Star
yeah, you
Fox
saw
fans who just hate everything that's not Star Fox 64.
right, yeah. Um, yeah, you just saw Astrobot, 3D platformer, game of the year, huge big deal. You saw Reggie just come out this week saying that he loved the game, Reggie Fils-Aimé, so, like, that's a big deal, obviously being a Nintendo guy, having, been the head of Nintendo of America for a long time. My body is ready. You know, so I definitely think it's actually, we've got like a bigger chance for it now. And I feel like Microsoft's a little more open now to, using the rare property, I guess. I feel like the potential is there more than it was like 5 years ago.
you just need somebody at the top to be willing to pull that trigger and say, let's look into this.
Yeah, I'm a little more hopeful too with Microsoft after this direct, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But I do hope that like the property does get some kind of something, because I mean it was a good franchise, man. Those Banjo-Kazooie,
Yeah.
Banjo-Tooie, those are two great games. Nuts and Bolts was like, you could say, some say like the mechanics of the game were kind of ahead of its time. It was basically like Tears of the Kingdom as far as the building and stuff, but it just didn't work for the game at the time because it
Yeah,
didn't
it's
hit
just
for
a
me
poorly
either.
done version of that game. It's a lot of nothing in that game. But I mean, that's assuming they would even use him. I don't know how much inside stuff he has into the game. But at the worst case scenario, it just means in the immediate, there's not people, they're not talking about it. Doesn't mean in a few months to a year they couldn't be talking about bringing it back.
The tide shift for this stuff all the time too. It's like,
Yeah.
it's really hard to predict, but I do feel like that there's probably a bigger chance that we do get it now than like say 5 years ago, where it was like nobody cared about 3D platformers. It was just a Nintendo thing. You know, it was
I
just
do think I do think he's kind of doing something that makes sense. He's tempering expectations, as in just because this was a big thing, don't just like get your hopes up and then to be let down because nobody talks about it. Because these studios never came out and said they were even looking at it. You're making assumptions based off of games that
yeah.
have come out that this could be a thing, and it still could. But in the immediate future, nobody behind the scenes is talking about it. So
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Coffee. It's kind of a bummer that Nintendo lost a rare connection, but I mean, it was, fortunately Microsoft bought it up and then
they need
did
to reach
nothing but
out
Sea of
to
Thieves
look.
with it.
I think they should reach out to Microsoft about either a partnership or trying to repurchase Rare to just get those IPs.
It'd be interesting because I mean, like, even think of Sea of Thieves and like the stylized look of it even is more of a
I mean,
Nintendo.
they don't necessarily need that game, but there's a lot of old games that were on Nintendo consoles that, let's be fair, Microsoft isn't doing anything with these
They're not doing
IPs.
anything. Yeah, that's the problem, right?
Like
So,
either get the studio, maybe you don't care for it, or some kind of partnership where you can start bringing these IPs back over, because it's not like they haven't played nice in the past before.
yeah, but when Microsoft let it go because of Sea of Thieves, I'm sure is making quite a bit of money for
Well,
them.
there's some negotiations. Maybe you just want the IPs, or it's a partnership where Rare will they'll allow them to start making new games to put on their console.
They were such a like a Nintendo heavy studio. We look back at like the crazy amount of games that came out on the NES, Super Nintendo, 64. Like there was a crazy amount.
Yeah.
There were games I didn't even know about.
But it's also the same issue of like nobody that made those games is still at Rare. It's just the IPs that you want. So
Yeah.
like if you're gonna go back and revisit these IPs, you should reach out to people that will actually have a proven track record of making games like these, or you try to find people that worked on these games to come back and lead a development of it.
It'd be interesting to see. I would love to see a connection back there. Like when Banjo-Kazooie came to Smash, like that was a really big deal. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, maybe that gave a little more hope for a new game because people were really excited about it. It was like, brought the name up again, and nothing really came of that because I forget when he came to Smash, but he was one of the later characters, right?
I think so. I've never been heavy into Smash, so I can't remember all that well.
Yeah. So, speaking of Nintendo, we got 3 new Switch Online games, and these are 3 SNES games. So we've got Fatal Fury 2, Super Ninja Boy, and a Satut. I don't know how to say this.
Sute
Pseudo Hakun.
Hakun.
Yeah, Sude Hakun, which I believe was actually a Teleview game, if I remember reading correctly on this, which was be interesting to see. I had to confirm that. But I think it was a Teleview game, which they didn't like come out and say or anything.
I'm not sure. I've never played any of these games, unfortunately.
Never played Fatal Fury 2?
No, I've never been to the fighting game stuff, so it's not a game I would have played.
Haha, man, come on.
Unfortunately, I'm sorry.
That's a little disappointing. Yeah, so it was for the Super Famicom's add-on, the Satellaview data casting service on November 2nd, 1997. So that's a huge deal. That's a Satellaview game being brought over, and it's like nothing's being spoke of it. Yeah, so I think it's cool. Fatal Fury 2 is really cool. Yeah, they're showing the trailers
Yeah,
there.
the little trailer for it, yeah.
Yeah. Fatal
Let's
Fury
get
is
an idea.
pretty classic, fighting franchise. It's interesting that it's just randomly number 2, but
Yeah, I
still
don't know.
pulls
Did they
in
have the first one, or is this? Then again, I don't know what
no.
licensing Nintendo has to do to get these games on the system behind the scenes.
Yeah, I don't know either. This is the first one though. It's a really good game.
I mean, it really brings back memories. Yeah, because it's a Super Ninja Boy, just that old art style that you used to get on these old consoles.
Yeah, it's an interesting one too, because it's got that what am I thinking? Earthbound style first
Oh
person
yeah,
mode when you hop into the enemies, but then you jump into this side scrolling like combat. It's like really weird. You got like this overworld map.
yeah, but there's like I don't know, some nostalgia for like simpler times. The creativity they did with the games, how
Yeah.
colorful they tended to be. You maybe not heavy on the story, but it was always something that was a little bit more. It's the obvious puzzle base, but you had a little bit more optimism back in gaming, where games were just something that were just at large, just something you just would just have fun with.
Yeah, I mean, look at it. It's such a like a weirdo game, but it's like something different. You know what I mean? You still get
Yeah,
that.
but it's nice, bright, colorful. It's not a whole lot of games that did the super dark, eerie environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool stuff. It's good to see. Always good to see new games brought over, especially when we know it's being brought over to the Switch too, pretty much. So that's good to see. And then we've got yeah, so I guess we kind of talked about earlier the $100 spike in the gaming stuff there. So kind of touch on that. All right, so let's see what this one is.
Oh, I brought this up only because we were kind of talking about it, and I did see this earlier this week. So there was a report, I think it was at over at thegamer.com, where they came out and said women and non-binary devs make up 32% of all game developers, up from 24% in 2022. And well, the comment section was kind of the way you thought it was. People just being like, "Oh, yeah, this is it. This is why games are kind
This
of
is the
going
problem.
downhill."
This is what happened. I mean, how do you really get that accurate of a number though? 32%. Like,
Because these studios report on their
they report on the
numbers
sex of all their employees.
well, because everybody, they all, it's just when you hire people, you have in your system the percentage of people that are, women, male, probably black, white, non-binary. They 100%, the HR departments track these numbers because, a lot of these studios have a push for DEI, and this is one of these ways that they can track them. So they intentionally track this information.
Yes,
And then they report it. They report it as a way to advertise, like, "Oh, we're doing this thing. We've got these numbers. Invest in us, or buy our games, or X, Y, and Z."
You think this is why EA stock is down so much?
Yeah, stock's down because they've been putting out bad games.
Well, I mean, that's part of the problem. You got
And is there a connection between this and these games? Maybe not a one for one, but a lot of people, it's hard to not see a one for one for a lot of games not being what they were 10, 15 years ago, and the increase of women and non-binary people in the industry.
Yeah, I guess that changes the. Here's the thing. You don't have to shove your stuff into video games. That's my thing. It's like, why?
I'll say this is a really
straight mail into video games. If I was a video game developer, like I wouldn't shove that into video games.
Well, they have initiatives. The problem is they're then hiring people that do want to push this stuff and put it into games. They don't care about the success of the game. It's all about pushing the message first and foremost. Of like, well, you don't like this. Well, we're gonna make you like this. This is because you see a lot of people. It's like that you see it as people coming in and taking over a hobby or something they liked over when people weren't necessarily complaining about it outside of a handful of vocal minority who kind of like forced their way in. And then, yeah, it's a whole, I mean, this goes all the way back to Gamergate and Gamergate 2.0 and everything else that's going on. They people see the connection.
Oh, it seems like,
and then this brings up the whole issue of gatekeeping communities of like, should you be wide open? Like to a degree, if you're willing to, conform to the community that already exists. But yeah, it's just a whole mess. But I mean, it's very obvious that there's a significant portion of people that just are saying no to this outright, just because you've been burned enough times. You're not even willing to make a negotiation with it. You just say no to it outright.
Yeah.
Not everybody, but that percentage is growing.
Look at a couple of the comments here. Somebody says, really does explain the state of the industry. LOL. No wonder the games are trash these days. And there it is. We can tell. Trust me, we could tell. Yeah. So I'm just like, yeah.
What's the meme? It's non-binary. I mean, going out, people just like, oh, I'm gonna identify as I'm not gonna buy your game anymore. That's another thing that kind of peaks up.
It does seem like the tides are starting to shift, though, because it seems like people are kind of waking up and getting tired of it. It does seem
well, it's what we said, but forever, you vote with your wallet. It doesn't matter what you say. The only way these studios are going to change is when they lose money, because either they're going to change or they're just going to go out of business.
Yeah,
one of the two things is going to happen.
And we're seeing it now. EA, BioWare, the stock has dropped significantly. So
yeah, and it also proves that
you're seeing it with, obviously. I mean, I don't know how Assassin's Creed Shadow is going to do, but that kind of had some crap there. And then
people don't blindly buy games anymore. People very obviously don't listen to games media anymore. It's more independent YouTuber types that people tend to go towards, or they'll just read comments on people, watch gameplay. Like, the industry itself has shifted.
Maybe we should get some more videos out talking about some of that. Get a little more deeper into it. All right, what do we got next? All right, so we're gonna go ahead and jump into the Xbox Developer Direct now, which was kind of the biggest news of the week. So Mark, you said you didn't get a chance to watch any of this, right?
Not when it's live. I've seen stuff about it, but actually sitting down and actually watching the full thing, no, I didn't get the chance to. But I've for some of the games, I was able to catch some stuff here and there.
I wish I had trailers ready to go to pull up some of these, since we are doing this in Restream, but unfortunately I don't have trailers ready to go.
No, that's fine. But what was the first thing that they came out and talked about was Ninja Gaiden 4, though.
Yeah. So that was huge, because they come out super strong right out of the gate with Ninja Gaiden, the new Ninja Gaiden, and it looked absolutely amazing. They just jumped kind of right into it. Like, the guy talked for like 15 seconds and jumped into the game. It's like, he says like something like, without further ado, let's take a look. Jumps right into it. Looks absolutely beautiful. Everything you'd want to see from like a new Ninja Gaiden. Just the gameplay looks super smooth. You bring back that, because like before we had Soulsborne or like Souls-like games, we had Ninja Gaiden, right? Like that was kind of the gold standard of really difficult games, right? That was it. It was up there. It was like number one. So it's interesting to see this come back around now that like Soulsborne games are super popular, and this is kind of that formula, right? But like, I don't think this is entirely a Souls-like game, but these games are very like brutally difficult, but absolutely very rewarding when you beat it. Like it feels fair. You know what I mean? Like the boss battles are just awesome. Like I'm looking back at some of the boss fights they show for this new game. It's just crazy, super bloody, super gory.
I mean, a whole new take on Ninja Gaiden as a whole, like taking it from what you used to be like a side scroller to a full on 3D game.
Well, we've had the 3D game, which we're going to jump into. So
but I mean, like it feels like the proper 3D game that you should have had all along. When you look at some of the early 2000 games, like that's really hit or miss on some of those games, to be fair.
Yeah, and then so like right after that, we got the announcement for Ninja Gaiden 2 Black, and they remade it in Unreal Engine 5. It looks really good. I mean, it definitely looks obviously lower fidelity from this new game coming out. This is an old game that came out in like 2008 or something. I can't remember. But it looks really good. Like it looks, for Unreal Engine 5 and like what they've done to it, like it looks really good, and it's out now. You can play it now. It came out yesterday during the direct. So that was really cool to see, and like a instant drop. So they said, like, let's give you this to hold you over. And this game comes out in the fall of this year. So not that far, realistically. For some of these showcases, it's like, you don't even know if it's coming out in a year. You know what I mean? Like they show the game and you don't know when it's coming out. So that's really cool to see. So I started playing it yesterday. I only got to play like an hour of it, but I loaded up to check it out and it looks beautiful. It's really cool. It looks
Oh
really
yeah.
good. So
Hopefully,
definitely,
the game actually is pretty good and they do a lot of justice for it.
yeah, for sure. I'm definitely excited, but
Or at least
yeah,
the IP is still getting love. A lot of these
yeah,
old games that got dropped a while ago.
yeah, for sure. Mr. Coffee said Ninja Gaiden on PS Vita is a technical marvel. Yeah, it is really good. Yep, I had it on Vita too. It was really, really good. I thought it was awesome. A big Ninja Gaiden fan. Brutally hard games, but very fun. Then we had what's this game called? It is uh
Ooh.
something Southward Bound.
Yeah, South of Midnight. Was the
South of
next
Midnight.
one.
Yeah, South of Midnight. So this was the one where it was like a lot of people were like, this might be the stinker of the direct. So like my problem with this game is the frame rate that it shows is absolutely horrid. So it's supposed to be a mechanic of the game. It's supposed to be able to like switch it on and off with this weird frame rate. Like it's supposed to
But
be
people assume it's just like it's an excuse to just not optimize the game.
because you just look at the trailer. I mean, especially when we get to some of the later parts, it's like really bad. It looks horrible, but they're saying it's a mechanic of the game. Um, to me it doesn't look interesting. Based on like
If
what
when I looked at the best I could think of is the old stop motion type of graphics
yeah,
where the nature of it forces it not to look it's kind of stuttery on purpose, but like it doesn't look like a stop motion
yeah,
type of movie or game. So like
it
I
feels like
get
it
the
doesn't fit.
stylistic choice, but I don't necessarily agree with it. I don't think it makes it look any better.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be it's supposed to be a take on like Southern America. So like I forget what area it was saying that it was based in, but it's like a supposed to be like a Southern America type vibe for the game. I forget if they're in Oklahoma or somewhere.
Oh, you mean like Deep South essentially is what I
Yeah,
would go with. Yeah.
that's
Like
what.
a Georgia, Alabama,
Yeah,
Louisiana type thing.
yeah. That would be more so one of those areas, but that's what it's supposed to be. Um, I don't know, just the mechanics of the game just didn't look all that interesting.
Picked the weirdest part.
It just doesn't look all that interesting to me. It's supposed to mimic stop motion. Yeah, I get that. When it goes from stop motion to gameplay, it's just so jarring it ruins the flow. Yeah, I for sure. And it comes out in April, so it comes out like real soon. I mean, it's coming out on Game Pass, so like I'll check it out and like give it a go for sure. I'll do it on stream or something like that. It gives me an excuse for a stream, so it's like I'll check it out and see how it is. There's no excuses when I got Game Pass to not, I guess, give it a go. But I just have a feeling it's going to be the one I won't connect with, and the only one from this showcase because the other games look awesome. So next we've got hold on, I'm trying to pull it up here. Just lost my page. I think it's called.
I'll just let this play. I don't know if they're gonna show it. Oh yeah, it was 4 games.
Yeah,
Sandfall.
no, that's the studio. It's going into the game.
Oh,
Okay, let's see.
sorry.
See if it shows the
It's a
title.
little, it's a little misleading.
Yeah, no, you're good. Yeah, so Sandfall Interactive is a studio. I'm gonna see what the game's called. I can't remember.
The problem is they just can't show the game. They have to show the developers doing stuff that nobody cares about. Like, let's just be real. I don't give a crap about the developers themselves. Just show me the game.
Expedition 33. That's what it is, and it had a weird name. Yeah, so this one looks cool. I think it looks really cool. I thought what they showed was like very interesting. Like, looks like really cool.
It's got an
Type
interesting turn-based style graphics.
Yeah.
Like it's like
reminds me of a Metaphor, realistically.
Yeah, think of like Metaphor with a more realistic graphics.
Yeah, that's what it reminds me of. It's got like a really cool menu system. Just looks cool. It really looks fun. Like definitely.
I mean, this trailer with these developers looks stupid, but that's just a personal opinion. Like I care about the game. I don't care about the developers behind. I don't care what it looks like or what you're trying to do.
Not sure what the whole walk in there with the.
Nobody even knows who she is. Like, let's be real. Nor do I care. Are you making a good game or not?
Yeah, I could do without the developer stuff. But
just show me the traffic. Just show me the gameplay. That's all I care about.
Yeah, does look interesting though. Like the graphics look really good.
At least the trailer that they're showing us is good.
Yeah, the cinematics there. But what they showed the gameplay too looked really really interesting. Definitely different. I'm not sure
It's
what
definitely got a more Victorian England style or time
there's
period
something
looks
going
like.
on with it. I was trying to see if I could
Or it's at the very least a more you take the steampunk, which takes that Victorian England with steam power, that kind
so
of
it's
atmosphere.
game will immerse players in an original world mixing fantasy and European Belle Epoque art influences. Prepare for an epic single player narrative driven adventure.
All right, sorry. It gave me BioShock Infinite feels as far as like the
Yeah, I
technology
could see
period,
that.
which is like it's a steampunk, but that's like the game it
Yeah.
the style reminded me of. I had to like pull it up, I couldn't remember what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks really cool. I'm looking at some stuff on their website and the Sandfall Interactive and definitely looks cool, man. I'm excited about this one. I'll definitely check it out. Um yeah, really cool. I'm all up for a new turn-based RPG. I mean, I still got to finish Metaphor, but you know, hopefully I finish that before it comes out. It's a long game. Really good game, long game. And then I guess what is my favorite from this direct? Oh my god, the gameplay they show for Doom, the Dark Ages is freaking crazy. It is.
Yeah, I just wanted to say the Expedition one came out April 24th. I couldn't find the
Oh yeah,
video.
April 24th. Yeah, so that's soon too. Just a couple months. But yeah, no, I was actually interested in the developer talking about this one because when they're talking about it, like it's actually giving information on the game. It was a little more. The other ones are like kind of like shut up and show me the game type of deal. But my god, the gameplay for this game looks insane. Like this takes Doom Eternal and just puts on a whole nother level. So like the scope of this game, as far as like how big it is, like you got a big. They said sandbox. It's a big sandbox game.
They keep expanding on Doom and keep adding to it because it's got fairly interesting lore as well.
My god, yeah, it's got really good lore. Yeah, so
it's no 40K lore, which is just mind-boggling.
Yeah,
but
I'm good on that. Based on what we played, we were still confused.
I had to go back and watch lore videos. Like I didn't know what was going on and stuff like that's crazy.
I did too. Yeah, yeah. I kind of figured out what the story was and like what exactly was going on, but I was like very confused. We just finished the game.
We weren't even paying. We were just playing the game. We weren't really paying attention to what was going on. To be fair.
Yeah, we were. But yeah, this game just looks crazy. So just the scope of the game, like the story that they've got like actual because before it was like you find the story in the game, but no, this has got like actual played out cutscenes, like full cutscenes, stuff like that, like actual story going on.
I think it's interesting that they're adding like a shield now to it on top of a gun.
Yeah,
like an interesting choice to like evolve the actual gameplay or give you more options.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, you can parry with the shield and do all kinds of stuff with it, so it's really, really cool. I mean, and like the thing is, like this is a prequel to Doom 2016. They said that this leads straight into that game. So you'll play whatever, I forget how early it is and stuff.
Yeah, because wasn't
Doom
this version of Doom guy he was like awoken in 2016's game? So is this supposed to lead up like how he got to where he was on that game?
I guess, yeah.
Or am I misremembering? Am I mixing up different Dooms?
No. I think you might.
I thought Doom 2016 took place on Mars.
On story, Doom 2016. I'm trying to remember. I played it twice and I can't remember
because that one's on Mars, right?
Yeah,
yeah. Because I thought like the original it was on Mars, and then Doom guy has to get there somehow, or they discover him along with the demons or something else. I can't. It's been so long since I played the game.
Yeah, Doom Eternal I actually just played it last year. I was like,
you're taking the story from that, and now you're just expanding on I guess what led up to these games.
Yeah,
more of the past and stuff.
Yeah, it's just really cool. But then like they show later in the trailer, you get like into giant kaiju like fights in a giant mech. It's freaking crazy, and then you get a dragon that you can fly around on.
Because why not?
It's insane. Like this game's just crazy. It blew my mind. I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to play this. And this comes out, I think May. I forget what date, but it comes out in May for sure. I'm just like so excited for this game. Like I can't wait.
I went too far.
I think it's like May 15th. I can't remember. Oh, you saw the foot there for the giant. These giant mech fights. Now you're good.
Yeah, there's some stuff. Now I was just trying to figure out where it was at.
Yeah, it's just crazy, man. Like, just the scope of this game is huge. Right there's the beginning of the game. That's right when you start the game. You get
Yeah.
trapped immediately and put in like a jail or something.
I mean, it does look amazing and
It
the
really
designs.
looks good. Like everything about it looks really good.
Like it's one of the few AAA games that just actually stays good. It's not getting worse with every
Yeah, it's
game.
not getting affected by stuff. I mean,
Like
look at
the
this is
only
crazy.
Bethesda IP that's actually consistently doing well.
Yeah. Yeah, it just looks so good, man. I can't wait for the game.
All right, I
That
just
should be
want to try
right
to wait for
after this.
the. Yeah, there we go.
There we go. May 15th. Yeah, I was right. Okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah, so
really
it's right around
excited
the
for this
corner.
game, man. I can't wait. I want to play
Hey,
it on PC.
this game comes out before the Switch announcement, so
Yeah, that's true, isn't it? Yeah, it does. It's wild, man. I can't wait for this game. No, I mean, I would say 3 out of 4 games for sure. Like I said, I'll give the other one a go too. But I mean, those games look really good. I'm really
oh
excited.
yeah.
Ninja Gaiden
I mean,
and especially Doom.
I'll be biased. Like the only one for me that I really care about would be Doom: The Dark Ages. But I mean, Ninja Gaiden is probably the next one, but it's not a game series that I ever really played. So
I think you would like, especially the 3D ones, because they're more. I mean, you like the Souls like combat stuff, right? Like kind of. I mean,
the
because you
Souls light
Souls like
combat, yeah. If you go full on Souls, I don't.
you
Not
lost.
necessarily, but
Yeah.
like the Stellar Blade, which is a Souls light,
Well,
or
that's why I was thinking of.
Black with Wukong, which is a more of like a light version of it, a little less punishing. I would be more like my style.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a more. I would say it's more along that lines because that came out before Souls. Those 3D games before that was even a thing. I don't know. They are brutally difficult still, but definitely exciting stuff there. So I
Yeah,
can't
Mr.
wait.
Copy saying reminds him of Lost Odyssey on the Xbox 360. I don't know if you've ever played that game.
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
played
anything
it.
about it.
Yeah, I played that game. Been a long time, but yeah, definitely cool stuff there for sure. Do we got anything else to bring up, Mark? Did you see anything
I didn't immediately
on the
see something
interwebs?
else. Pull some other stuff.
I didn't see anything else myself.
Was there I thought I saw something else about another game, but I didn't know. I didn't think it was Ninja Gaiden because I thought we were talking about it about the one chick who they say they nerfed her assets.
That was Ninja Gaiden, but that was for Ninja
Was
Gaiden
that Ninja Gaiden?
Black. Yeah, it was
Oh,
the
okay,
one
yeah.
that's
I
out
couldn't
now.
remember if it was from the same game or not.
Yeah, that was the one where it went from, the game to Unreal Engine 5 and her boobs got smaller. Just barely. Like I was like,
They're
I
not
felt
like
like they were
squished
stretching
together,
for that.
so the internet automatically doesn't like it. Obviously,
I felt like they were stretching on that one a little bit. Didn't look much different for me. It was a quick screen grab from the game. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't think they're doing that. I mean, I don't
yeah.
think they are, but I don't know. It's hard.
Well,
Hard
here,
to tell. I did see I guess something else I can bring up real quick is Resident Evil movie reboot is in the works. Apparently directed by Zach Krager. Constantine film to produce along with PlayStation Productions and a revamp that will take the title to its horror roots and be more faithful to the initial games. So that'd be interesting if they actually do do it right. You know what I mean? Instead of going on
yeah,
like a
right.
long tangent with like 8 movies and I don't even know what was happening there at the end of the whole
Would you
franchise.
be surprised if I told you that Donkey Kong Country Returns is the top selling game last week in Japan?
Not at all, actually. It just
Like,
came out, so it's like this newest first party Switch release. So,
yeah,
Tail, yeah, I was gonna ask you about if you're interested in checking out Tales of Grace's F remaster because I'm just
yeah. I
thinking
saw
about
that. I might pick it up. The problem is, God knows when I would play it. The last Tales game that I bought, I got stuck in like the tutorial section. I was like, I was just getting my
oh,
ass kicked.
really
Yeah,
on Tales
it's
of
one of
the newest one.
it's like the Vesperiors. I don't remember which one it was.
Oh,
It was the last
Vesperia,
one that
that's an
came
old
out
one.
that they remastered, and I got stuck in it. And I was like, all right, whatever. I'm done with this
On
game.
the Switch, you mean?
Yeah, it was the Switch
Yeah,
version that I
Vesperia
got.
on the Switch.
No, but on
Uh,
top of
how the heck
that,
did it happen? Game's easy.
if you want something else to talk about, we could talk about how much you do or don't agree with this meme.
All right,
I don't agree with it. I think they give Ubisoft way too much credit, but what you get from software is 100% true.
Um,
EA just sells you everything. But that's like, I think Ubisoft does the same thing as well. They just
I mean, From
add you.
Software, yeah, I for sure agree with that.
I'd lump
What are they
Ubisoft
trying to
and
say?
EA.
They're trying to say it's like paid DLC, and Ubisoft gives you free expansions.
No, they're saying From Software just gives you all the content you'd ever want, and EA is trying to nickel and dime you. I'd say Ubisoft is pretty much the same way.
Because it says expansion pack instead of DLC.
Yeah, but it's the same thing.
Okay.
You know what they're trying to say. They're not giving you the full
From
game.
Software gives you all that stuff. I mean,
At least like the game itself is girthy, and
yeah,
the add-ons have a crap ton of content to them, and it's worth
for
the money
sure.
that you
I mean,
pay.
like the Elden Ring DLC is pretty huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Good stuff.
I'm sitting over here. Sitting over here just strolling X, see what I can't find.
Yeah, I was checking if there was anything else too. As well before.
Oh my god! Did you know there's a market for just manuals?
For game manuals? Yeah, I've sold a bunch.
It's like a market of people just selling game manuals for like
Yeah.
$20-$40.
Yeah, people gotta complete their games. I've got a whole giant box.
I feel like for like Game Boy Advance, the box itself would be the hardest thing to come by.
It is.
Unless
Well,
unless you want to get like a reprint.
It is the hardest thing because a lot of people throw them away. But
It's
a lot of people just throw the manual away with it too. I mean, everybody's different, obviously.
I think that comes down to
weird people who just keep the manual in the game, throw the box away.
Yeah, I think that comes down to like what is it?
I
Like
was
a reprint
as a kid.
Oh, of course, it wasn't designed to last, but like is it a sin to use like a reprinted box?
Repro box? No, people do it all the time.
Assuming that you
official manual
advertise like it's repo, but it's like realistically that's the only way you're going to find a lot of these old cardboard.
There's a lot of repro boxes, and people just do the OEM manual in game, put it in there.
I think some people do it because it's like, why spend a lot of money on a really damaged box compared to I don't plan on selling. I just want the box, so just spend the cheap money for something that just reprinted cardboard.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
I know some collectors might absolutely have a problem.
It depends on the person, right? Like if you're buying it to keep for yourself, then you don't care about having, some people do, but if you're buying it to keep for yourself, like the repro box probably doesn't matter as much. But if you're like, I might sell this in the future, like I need to get a original box. I don't know. Everybody's different. Like I would prefer to have the original box, but at the end of the day,
especially if like I can find it, but it's like $500.
Find it, yeah. It's like
is it really worth the money spending, especially if you're not gonna?
I mean, I sold a Pokemon Leaf Green box for like $60, just the box only.
And that's like on the edge of what I'd be even willing to spend on stuff like that.
I would.
And that's assuming that it's in decent condition, not like just ripped to hell.
But then you got to think like this game's going for like $300 complete box now, so it's like it's really not that much. The manual.
But at that point, if I'm gonna get it, I'd rather just buy everything together because I'm still getting the manual and the game in that price together. If you're buying them like individually, it'd be a little bit harder to justify the cost compared to like a $10-$20 repo box.
Yeah, Mr. Coffee said, when you think about it, isn't this the end game of retro gaming? It kind of is, yeah. Game collecting.
I've done everything. It's not even about the games anymore. I'm just trying to collect stuff.
That's how a lot of people are too. There's a lot of people out there like that. There's a lot of people that are just in it for the collecting aspect. They don't play the games. They don't care about playing the games. They just want to have the games you've had as a kid. Whatever, put it on a shelf, looks good to them, make their background cool, spice the room up a little bit, improve their marriage, stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
But I think it's, I guess one other thing I'll share, because this just came in today. This is brand new. At the Mega EverDrive Pro Core, this is a new SKU from Crix. This takes away like the Sega CD support, makes it cheaper, more affordable. I think it's $100, I believe, and then it has the support for everything else, like the 32X, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, all that stuff. Just takes away the Sega CD support from it and drops the price down by like I think $150 from the Mega EverDrive Pro, which is pretty cool. So I want to dive into this a little bit deeper and post about it tomorrow. But yeah, and then this came in yesterday. It's pretty cool too. It's Flea 2 for the Sega Dreamcast. It's hand numbered there with 169 out of 200. Nice. Pretty cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to checking this out. New it's a puzzle platformer. It's pretty cool stuff too. So I think that's all I've got. Mark, you got anything else for this week?
No, not right now.
Okay.
But I can at least leave you with a good image of Tifa to bless your weekend.
There we go. Well, bless your weekends, everybody.
I'll bless you with this.
That's fan art, right?
Oh, obviously it's fan art.
Okay. I was gonna say that's not like game stuff.
I mean, well, the game's on PC now, so I'm sure you get a mod.
You can do whatever you want, right? Forgot it just came out a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, on the PC.
Yeah, cool stuff. All right, appreciate everybody watching, listening, everybody on all the audio platforms, all that stuff. Be sure to follow us on social media for all updates, and we'll be live again next week at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday, of course. YouTube, Twitch, all the different socials. And then we'll be live tomorrow. What are we playing tomorrow?
I have no idea.
I don't know either.
I have to figure that out.
I actually didn't talk about that, so we'll have to figure it out. But we'll be live tomorrow, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Every Saturday, we are live playing different games. So not sure what we're playing yet, but if you are watching live, we'll be playing something. So we'll see you all later. Have a good night, guys. Peace.